are coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you, Todd Leary as well. On this Thursday, expecting it to be a very rainy day today, Todd Leary, you better get your golf in quick.
Yeah, the golf's not happening today. We're gonna let the courses heal today, I think.
Definitely, man. There's rain coming in, pretty much the southern Indiana part at least, and it's going to be. It looks like a while that it's going to be there. So, hope you have indoor plans today. What else is there to do right now, just other than hope that things get better? But each day, I think we see some good things, some bad things. Just got to learn to take this stuff each and every day as it comes, Todd.
Well, there's some stuff on TV. You've got golf that starts today with a World Golf Championship event this week. So there'll be a great field. Tiger not playing, but there's still a great field playing in that. And NBA starts tonight. So they got some couple of games, first games of the restart going on. So there are some things to look forward to watch.
Also, then we've got players to hear from. Indiana basketball, of course, Archie Miller. We met with those guys yesterday, and we'll hear from some more of that as well. As Archie was very excited about the upcoming season, and with good reason. Todd, there's no doubt this should be his best team that he's ever had in Bloomington.
Yeah, but that it's going to be the most fun team so far for him here to coach. That's for sure, and I think he's got a locker room full of guys that are hungry and eager to learn and eager to play. And the eager to learn part is probably the biggest key. And they're coming in here, got 4 freshmen coming in. And as we've talked about this week quite a bit, I mean, even the older guys are not very old. So it's just, I think this is a fun group for Archie. And you can tell by the sound of his voice, he's pretty excited about coaching these guys.
Yeah, and a good reason. These are, I hate to use that term, all his guys, with the exception of Al, but Al has pretty much become one of those guys.
Right.
So it's just, you just have to feel good when you're trying to put a puzzle together, when you've got the pieces that you want, that you selected to make this puzzle work. And that's just got to be a lot better feeling for him and going into the season. And it has to change your attitude probably as you go and approach the season.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I just, I'm really excited for what I think Al Durham can be a part of this team, and in regards to, I think this is a year where he can really learn a lot about himself and about his own leadership. He's got a great opportunity to grow as a leader. He's sitting in a fantastic position with that. But in saying that, he's also, I think Indiana's in a really good position because they're not super reliant on whether Al Durham has a great year or not. And I think they've got enough guys, I don't even want to say to back him up, they've got enough guys in that position that they're going to push Al for playing time. And they're going to push him. Somebody's going to try to establish themselves as the alpha dog here and be a leader. And it's just a good situation, I think, all the way around. I think it works out good for all of them.
Yeah, it's one of those weird deals where you're it's like the NFL quarterback, the aging veteran training the young dude coming along to take his job away, of sorts, but not really, because you're doing it in a team fashion. But Al Durham is going to be a good calming presence for these young guys, because Archie talked about this. Christian Lander, of course, there's 4 freshmen coming in, but Christian Lander is a freshman plus. He's 17 years old. He's younger. Man, I was an idiot when I was 17. So he's doing so much more and in a bigger position, but he's doing all this as a younger kid. And we have to remember that. And Archie knows that. And I think he's making sure that he brings him along the right way.
It's pretty interesting now, because when when the first time, or the first name, it seems like, to me at least, it may not see it this way, but the first name to me, when someone talks about the freshman class right now, it's always Christian Lander. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's I think he was rated the highest nationally. Now, granted, he was still rated the highest nationally when they reclassified him. But the other guys, I think for them, the other three guys coming in, I really think that those guys are going to be just as big an impact as Christian. And I think Christian Lander will be a huge impact. But I think there's going to be some other guys, even if it's just a collective group of them, that are going to make a gigantic impact on this team and push guys like Al and they're going to push Archie Miller to have to change the lineup, to have to play 3/4 guards from time to time.
Well, and the guy that gets the least amount of being talked about is Trey Galloway. Probably basketball IQ wise, smartest of the bunch, assuming because his dad's a coach and he's been through that situation. So, man, you cannot underestimate the value of having a coach on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've made it pretty well known. Like, I know him the best. I know him personally the best. So there's a little bit of bias involved in it. But I think Indiana fans, if they're looking at Trey Galloway from the standpoint right now of the least amount of expectations, I think they're going to be surprised and shocked, because I'll be really surprised if he doesn't make a gigantic impact. He's a smart player. He's athletic. Height is not an issue. Like, he checks all the boxes. And I could not tell you why I don't think he gets a ton of credit. I think he's probably the best shooter of the guys coming in. I mean shooter from the standpoint of shooting guard position. Christian Lander actually might be the best shooter, but it's
a lot of people I think Anthony Leal is too.
It's just fun to be able to talk about it. I mean, it's
fun to be able to wonder who's the best shooter.
Right.
That's a great a great thing to wonder about, because that's not something Indiana was thinking about the last couple of years. Like, who's going to be the shooter?
In past years, we've had to hope it was going to be one of Devontae Green's good nights, and now they're going to have guys. I mean, if they have 2 or 3 guys that have good shooting nights, you're going to be looking back onto that team that made a run to the Final Four with Coverdale and Kyle Hornsby and Fife and those guys. I mean, those guys just stepped up and made shot after shot after shot. And, this team has a bunch of weapons on it, I think, in terms of shooting the basketball now.
Archie talked about the process that they've had to go through with the COVID and all that, practicing, working through all that. Let's hear what he had to say.
And get into a rhythm. Once the other guys got back in July, they sort of fell in line, and I thought that first group did a really good job of sort of showing them, hey, this is kind of what we do, this is how we do it. And they got off to a really good start. And then lo and behold, 3.5 weeks later, 4 weeks later, we hit the coaching opportunity. More or less, our coaching staff then allowed to be involved from July 20th. So we've been in that phase now where we've worked on the court 2 times a day with 2 groups. Realistically, probably about 35 to 45, 50 minutes, split the groups sort of in half or by position, however we wanted to do it.
There's Archie talking about the process of getting to where we've gotten through this summer. And he seemed pretty happy with how all they've had to deal with, where they are right now, and how and where his team is and where his guys are. He seems happy that what they've been able to get accomplished. Of course, everyone would like more time and like to have your guys together and not have any restrictions, but it is what it is. So with that, it could go the other way. I mean, he could be saying that, it's been horrible, we haven't gotten anything done, and so good news in that regard. So it's a lot of positives coming out of the basketball program.
Yeah, I mean, you can even tell. I just keep saying it, but it's just true. We're used to hearing Archie, and we're used to hearing the reason why he got the nickname Archie was because he was so grouchy growing up, and he's always kind of got that East Coast negative tone to his voice, and he doesn't have that right now. I mean, you can tell he's excited, and I think that's going to show to the players. I think the guys that have been around him for a year or so, they're going to see a difference in him, and all the way around. It's just a lot of positivity with this basketball team. There's for the life of me right now, I mean, I can't really come up with a guy right now on this team that I see as a cool guy. And I hate cool guys in basketball. So I'm as excited about him as Archie is.
Yeah, I think that particular brand has been eliminated from the team at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't think this team now would allow that. And that's what you have to have. You got to have that Jamal Meeks kind of thing that you always talk about. But
here's I hope people that have played in sports and stuff understand this. But when you've got a guy that is a cool guy, and my definition of the cool guys, and they just never look like they're playing as hard as they can, or whatever. But when you've got, I'll just use their names. So when Justin Smith is still there, I don't think Al Durham can meld into this team and be a leader on this team the same way he can as if Justin Smith is not there. I think Justin Smith is kind of like the big brother you kind of want to act cool around or whatever. And it's just going to be so much easier for the team in general. It's the definition of addition by subtraction. And in that regard, I want to make sure I always repeat this afterwards. And I wish the best for Justin Smith. I hope he has a fantastic career. I think he's got a chance at playing in the NBA for a long time, and I hope he does. But from an Indiana University basketball team perspective, I think they're better off without him.
And I cannot argue that, and I think that most fans would agree with you and say the same. So it's been an opinion that most of us had, but it's just about cohesiveness and about making things well together. And I think that they're in the best position that they could be. Something I don't want to fail to mention, we didn't know about this, or it was just released yesterday, but back on July 25th, Lou Henson passed away. The Lou Do, former coach at Illinois. Man, oh man, did him and Coach Knight have some he did not like. But it was just sour grapes mostly of getting a couple of recruits out of Illinois. But
I can't believe we didn't
funny
play,
to watch that.
I can't believe we didn't play the "he's a big bully" clip. He's nothing but a big bully.
Forgot all about that. He was one of the biggest crybabies I think I've ever seen in basketball.
He didn't like Coach Knight or Coach Katie. He did not like those guys who were animated like that. And he always talked to Coach Henson always talked about in his interviews about how those guys influenced the referees, and that was, in my opinion, his way of influencing the referees.
Yeah, funny. But they were just great. But it's great to have people like that to be a part of the sport and to have watched that, to see those battles, and just fun. Marion County, unfortunately, no football, soccer, or volleyball until October 1st right now. That's going to affect a lot of kids, but that's going to be weird because are some of these conferences, are they split along those lines, or are they in the because I'm not familiar.
No, there's definitely some teams outside of the conference that are outside the county border. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. We saw, what was it, 2 days ago? I think the IHSAA announced all sports are going to happen as planned on schedule. And then you get something like this that happens with Marion County saying they can't play sports. So do you switch everything and play away games like outside the city? I just don't know.
Good point, because otherwise it's going to be a weird thing no matter what. But yeah, that's hard when they start splitting things like that. But I hope that they get up and get things running, and everybody gets to play all the games. We got to get to a break. Joining us here on the program today, Chris Denardi, the voice of the Pacers. So looking forward to talking to him, talk a little NBA, Victor Oladipo, see how the Pacers, they can kind of regroup and get back on the positive side of things. Dustin Schutte will join us later as well. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this.
Looking for adventure in whatever comes our way. Yeah, darling, go make it happen.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Commentary from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, of course, on this Thursday, July 30th. Joined now by the voice of the Pacers, Chris Denari. Chris, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Chris with us? I can't hear him. If you guys can hear him, I cannot. Todd, if you can hear him, go ahead.
Hey, Todd, how are you?
Chris. Hey, sorry about that, buddy. Got a little communication issues going on here this morning. How are you doing down there in Orlando?
No Orlando for me. I'm in Indianapolis. We are calling the games remote, so no bubble for Quinn Buckner and I. So
wow.
Games a little bit differently, but that's really what's happening in sports these days. I was watching baseball last night on ESPN, and John Shambi, the play-by-play guy, was in Bristol. Rick Sutcliffe was in San Diego, and Chipper Jones was in Atlanta, and you would have never known it listening. So that's what we're doing as well when the seeding games start on Saturday against Philadelphia.
Well, I've watched a lot of the PGA broadcasts, and I've seen like Nick Faldo broadcasting from Orlando, and Jim Nantz will be on site, and they'll just have guys all over. And it's exactly like you said, you really don't even notice it. So will you guys do the game like from the studio today? Where will you actually watch the game?
Yeah, we're watching from the studio. We have a big, I don't know how big the TV is. It's got to be 100, 110, maybe 120 monitor that's in front of us. I've got 4 additional monitors that I'm able to look at. One's like an all-10. One shows you the replay, all those kinds of things. We have great space. We're basically in the studio at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. We have a control room there where our crew is. So, it's not that much different. I mean, what you do miss is when you're around a team and you know it. When you're around a team, you're able to converse with the coaches and those types of things. And then when you're at the game, I tend to watch the floor. And I'll look at the TV screen for replays and those types of things. And, you know, you don't have a chance to talk to the officials. They're just things that you do miss. But I will say that once the game has started, I've really sort of focused on the game and just tried to call it like I'm there.
So have you ever, like, it sounds like it should be a fairly seamless process, but have you ever called a game like this before?
Yeah. Quinn and I did not go to India back in October, so we drove to St. Louis and used the studios that the St. Louis Cardinals use, and we did it from there. And then I've probably done 5 to 6 WNBA games back in the day the same way. I've done a number of Big Ten games on BTN where I've been on site, but the production truck is in Chicago. You basically go back to the BTN studios. But in that case, the announcers, we were on site. So, yeah, I think the one advantage for us is we've done it together before. I personally like it this way. I think it would be very difficult to do what I just described last night watching baseball, where basically 3 guys are in 3 different places.
Sure.
At least the way we're doing it, Quinn and I are in the same room together. So we can look at each other, we can see each other's facial reaction, those types of things. And from that standpoint, our interaction is really no different than it would be courtside. Now, it is a little bit different because usually we are sitting right next to each other, but now because of social distancing, we're a good 10 feet apart. So it's a little bit different, but it's like anything else, you just have to adapt to it.
Yeah. It'll definitely be interesting, but you know, just like in the golf broadcast, like I've said, it's been pretty seamless, and you've not really, once they talk about it and you know it's happening, you think about it, but then after that, you know, I haven't even really noticed the fact that the guys are in different locations, but the broadcast side seems like it'll come off. What about this Pacers team? I mean, you're as close to them and you analyze them as much as anyone, and you know, I'm assuming they're playing without Sabonis. I'm assuming Victor Oladipo is playing. Where are we standing with the team right now?
Well, you're spot on. There's no Sabonis at least, for a while. He left the bubble. He has plantar fascia. He's trying to get treatment, and so he flew to L.A. Victor Oladipo, we all know that probably 3 weeks ago to a month ago, he said, well, I don't think I'm going to play. Then he changed his mind, and I think has looked good. He did not shoot it well in the final scrimmage on Tuesday, but last Sunday he looked really good. He had 16 points, 7 rebounds, he had 4 threes. He was very active defensively. So I would expect him to play. I think he probably erred in making that statement a month ago. I always thought that there might be a chance he wouldn't play. Injury that coming off of. Then you have a 4.5-month period that is unlike any we've ever seen. It's not a traditional off-season because for the better part of 3 months, players weren't together. You couldn't play 5-on-5. So there was a question, but I think he's looked pretty good. Is he the old Victor? No, probably not. But I still think he's very capable of doing things that the Pacers need to win. I still think this is a team that can advance out of the first round of the playoffs. They're either going to play Philadelphia, Miami, or Boston. They've got to play a little bit differently. They've got to play small. Line up with Brogdon, Victor Oladipo, and Aaron Holiday. So you just can't play the same way that you played when you had Domantas Sabonis, and they're going to miss him. 18 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Those are pretty stellar numbers. So you have to find another way to win games.
Yeah, this is Jim Coyle. How are you, man? Yeah, when they lost Victor Oladipo, I mean, Sabonis was probably the glue that held that team together, although it was a great team effort, and they made a heck of a run last year without him, and now they're going to have to do it without Sabonis, and Victor Oladipo is going to have to step up. But there are so many intangibles that Sabonis brings. He's hard to replace.
Oh, he is. I mean, they run the offense through Sabonis. I mean, I think we all remember how good a big man his dad was, Arvidas. And Domas has ball handling skills of a guard. And that's what makes him so essential to when you're running the offense. And, the one thing that I give the coaching staff and this team a lot of credit, the starting lineup they thought they would have this year in Sabonis, Miles Turner, T.J. Warren, Malcolm Brogdon, and Victor Oladipo. They have played 6 games together. I think it's like 25 minutes. And yet here they are in the 5th seed, 39-26, going to the playoffs for a 5th straight year. So, it's disappointing not to have all of your players, and I definitely would want to see what this team would look like with Sabonis, but unfortunately the Pacers have sort of dealt with this hand all year long. They've had so many injuries, and we'll just have to see how they do during these seeding games that start on Saturday.
In looking at the team, I know we talk about what they have right now, and I don't want to fast forward and kind of count them out. I think you kind of said they have a chance at advancing through past the first round, and I think we all probably kind of have that hope and expectation level. I don't think we're thinking NBA championship level this year, but how much different do you expect? I mean, you analyze them as close as anyone, like I said. How different do you expect this team to look next season compared to what rosters we're looking at right now?
Well, it probably has the chance to have as much continuity as they've had, because if you think about it, they've really had to change the roster the last few years. When they made the Paul George trade, they brought in Oladipo and Sabonis. Last year, they lost Bojan Bogdanovic and Thaddeus Young to free agency. So they had to make the changes. They lost Darren Collison, their starting point guard. Basically, they lost 3 starters. The only starters back were Oladipo, and he didn't play, at the end of last year. And Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis was coming in off the bench. So I think they have as much continuity next year. They'll have all 5 starters are under contract. Doug McDermott, their 3-point shooter off the bench, is under contract next year. T.J. McConnell has an option. I believe they'll bring him back. Aaron Holiday's still under contract. The one wild card would be Justin Holiday, Aaron's brother, and he's been fantastic this year off the bench. I think you have to find a way to bring him back. But I really think they have a chance to have as much continuity next year as they've had any of the last 3 to 4 years. And again, as I say it, I'd like to see this group together healthy and see what they could do. We have seen them together not healthy, and they've been pretty good. How much better can they be if they're able to stay healthy?
Yeah, I mean, there's just the question marks are. This is one of those teams they kind of defy. They're like the Boston Celtics to me. They kind of they play above what I think the talent level shows, and that's because of that continuity you're talking about. So yeah, I hope we get another year of all of those guys.
So it's going to be interesting. It all starts for real again on Saturday, and in effect, it is a new season, but it's still the resumption of an old season. So it's one of the rarest things we've ever seen, with the restart due to COVID-19. But thus far down in the bubble, they've had no positive tests. They just had testing again for COVID-19, and of the 300 and some odd players, 0 positive tests. So that's been huge. It sort of shows that if you can put people together but do a lot of testing and keep them without having to go into the quote-unquote outside world, you have a real chance of pulling this off.
Yeah, it's going to be a kind of a lonely fall in Indianapolis, Chris. They saw yesterday the announcement that there will be no sports in Marion County until October 1st. Of course, that's mainly we're talking about high schools there, but it's just not going to be the same Indianapolis this fall. You got the Pacers are out of town, but hopefully the NFL is going to attempt to give us something in that regard to give Indianapolis fans. Plus, and you got the Indianapolis 500, which it may be I'm going to say it's a blessing, but we have to get to have that this fall, so that provides something for Indianapolis.
Yeah, and I think, the one thing is the business that I'm in, and for that matter, the business you guys are in, it's still very, very important. People may not be able to go to games, but they're going to be able to follow games either listening on radio or, of course, watching television. So right now, televised sports, people have a hunger for it. And that's why you see so many of the networks, even through COVID-19 and even through the economy, advertisers are rushing back. I saw where all the NBA national telecasts are already sold out with advertising through the remainder of the year. So they know that there will be eyeballs. We've all either done all of our landscaping around our house, or we've cleaned our house, we've watched our closet or our drawers 10 times. We've watched Netflix. We've watched Amazon Prime. We've watched all those shows that we can watch. We're all hungering for live sports, and we started to get it with NASCAR and with IndyCar, and some of the other things. The golf, as Todd mentioned, I've watched a lot of golf, even though there are no fans there. But now we're going to get the team sports that everybody's anxious for, and so we're really looking forward to being a part of that.
I had trouble watching baseball at first with no fans, and we talked about it a lot. But then I went back and gave it another try, and I got lost in a game, and all of a sudden it was like they weren't even there. And then it gave me the idea maybe they should green screen that thing, man, with some other games. But once the game gets going, I can get lost in the game itself. And the fans, you do miss that. I'm sure the players miss it. They can't. I heard one of them that was mic'd up on the field the other day talking that it's hard to get amped up when you don't have anybody out there.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I've noticed as I've called the games, and I've watched a lot of these scrimmage games, I think people need to watch how the NBA is approaching it with the big screens and the video monitors. When the Pacers played the other day against San Antonio, it was the quote-unquote Pacers home game, so everything was Pacers-related. They can put virtual logos on the floor. They can so the players don't see that, but you as the fan see it. And so I think as you're watching the game, I'll be honest, you forget that they're in a building where there aren't fans. Now, I know that everybody in that building understands there aren't fans, but I think the way the game is shot and the video monitors and all of the signage that they have, it's sort of like when we watched the tournament on ESPN and the way they did that in Columbus. You can create, an arena or a floor for television, and I think that's exactly what they're doing right now. Is they're creating a venue for television. This is a television show, and I think from that matter, as you tune in, as you said, Jim, you just sort of lose yourself in the game.
Well, Chris, man, I can't thank you enough for taking time to join us today, and I hope you guys are having fun 10 feet apart in there doing the game.
Hey, you know what? Being able to distance yourself from Quinn Buckner an extra 10 feet can't hurt your feelings. And yes, you can tell him I said that.
Some other chicken like he's want to do on a good block shot. There might be some spittle flying. So yeah, it will be good to be 10 feet apart. But I'm happy to do it, and I'm sure as the fall moves along and the Pacers are still playing, I'd be happy to do it again.
We would greatly appreciate that. You guys are doing a hell of a job, and keep it up. We appreciate you providing the entertainment you are.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you.
The voice of the Pacers, Chris Denari, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat there on this Thursday. We've got Dustin Schutte to join us next. We've got more to talk about, man. It's a good day to go, so let's get to it. We'll be back with that and more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. It's July 30th, joined now by Dustin Schutte. Talk some football. We got some football to talk about, Dustin. First off, I saw Rutgers has the latest to suspend all football operations, but they traced it back to a party where they breakout has come from. We've got Iowa. I think that's basketball. There's so much going on. I can't keep them straight now, Dustin. But and then also we've got Notre Dame playing in the ACC. So we've got all kinds of stuff going on, Dustin.
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit more news. Some is positive. Some is obviously with you mentioning Rutgers, that's a little bit on the negative side. And you see now what it's like when you have college student athletes back on campus and around some of their peers. And I think the big question is, how do you limit some of that, that partying or that close contact? And I think that's going to be a big question, not just for student athletes, but also for when you see other students return to campus here the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be interesting. But, yeah, we've got some stuff to talk about.
And that brings up a point, a party. And when you get kids back on campus, it's going to be hard to keep all of them doing the right thing, Todd. I mean, you were a kid. I was a kid. Yeah. Doing the right thing was not part of my motto back then, I don't think. But
at 50 years old, it seems like, not that big a thing to ask them. But I can tell you, I can think back of some of the really terrible decisions I made as an 18, 19, 20-year-old in regards to just not being a good decision. And it'd be very, very difficult to get these guys, to get all student athletes to, it's easy to take it seriously for a week. It's easy to follow the rules for a week or 2 weeks or a month. they're going to have to do this for a long time. And all you got to do right now is walk down Kirkwood in Bloomington. There's kids at the bars. Like it's not a ghost town.
Dustin, and talking about that with so many teams going into quarantine, are we going to be able to hit that mark, do you think? I mean, everything seems to be staying on track, and we know there's going to be cases. I talk about that every day. There's going to be cases. We can't be shocked about that. So we've got to talk about them to understand that it's not crazy that it's going to happen. But man, the biggest concern is having a team get an outbreak in the middle of the season.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're going to be able to prevent that part of it either, and I think that's why the Big Ten is taking its time with the schedule, because I do suspect you'll see quite a few bye weeks or off weeks, whatever you want to call them, throughout the season. So if there is a cancellation or a postponement, you have opportunities to make those games up, because I think that's just going to be the reality of the situation. And the interesting thing about this is it almost seems like, I don't want to say that it's a good thing that these kids are infected with the virus, but at the same time, it also brings some reality to it, right? Like when you're on campus and when you're at Rutgers, use them for example, and you have everybody that's tested and you say, okay, well, let's have a party. All of us tested negative for the virus. We can all get together and hang out and no harm done. And then all of a sudden, you have an outbreak on campus, and you kind of, and when it's linked to that party, it's kind of a reality check. Like, hey, this can happen at any time. So while obviously you don't want kids catching the virus, it's almost like a reality check. And maybe that is the deterrent that you need on those campuses, and say, hey, this can happen anywhere. If we don't take this seriously, if we don't follow these guidelines that the university, the Big Ten, and the state is implementing, then we may not have a season. And I think we've got to the point now where if Rutgers or any other Big Ten school is not able to play this season, I think you're going to see other teams still play until it just becomes unfeasible. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but it's almost like this is a reality check. Like, hey, we can't be doing this. But at the same time, when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds and when you're dealing with a lot of them, there's obviously going to be some bad decisions that are made. It's just a matter of how coaches and administrators are going to be able to monitor that. You can't monitor these kids 24/7. So there's going to have to be some trust there. So it'll be interesting to see if this happens at other places, or if other schools start using Rutgers as an example to say, hey, if you want to play this season, if you want a chance at the NFL to prove yourself on the field and to have a 10-game season, we need to start taking this stuff seriously, because this can happen.
Well, I want to know Illinois. Tim sent in some text. Thanks, Tim. Illinois high schools, they're not going to play until the spring. You've got an IU recruit in the 21 class, running back Trenton Howland. He'll graduate in December and not have a senior high school season. He can literally come straight to IU to start playing football. Crazy.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, and there's going to be a lot of these things that pop up and that we see. It's just going to be different for kids nowadays for at least a year or so. But all of this, like this is what I'm really worried about when we report daily, and I'm glad that we do it, Tim. When we report about cases that pop up and different outbreaks that there are with teams and in different cities, like that's not necessarily a terrible bad thing until one of these guys dies, until one of these athletes, because it affects it affects a lot of people differently than it does others.
Or a coach, or actually one of their coaches who are more susceptible.
Anyone, like what happens right now if someone in the bubble in the NBA right now contracts it and has an underlying condition they didn't know about and passes away from it? That shuts down, in my opinion, that shuts down all sports. That shuts down everything.
Well, let's hope not.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just, I think it's the reality of it. Right now, we've got people, we're worried about outbreaks that happen with kids that don't even have symptoms. And I think it all changes if we have, I mean, we really have to just hope and pray for there not to be that one case where somebody dies from it, because I think it'll change the whole perspective.
Tim, or Dustin, another good text in from Tim. He mentions, and this year there may be some appropriateness to this. He said, so as everyone is playing conference games only, why couldn't the winner of each conference play in a tournament for the College Football National Championship? Well, for one thing, you got the Power Five, and then you got the other guys. But it's going to be a weird national championship type season, though, Dustin.
Yeah, and I think you have to wonder if, number one, are we just going to be satisfied with having just maybe conference games and say, you know, what you play a 10-game season, maybe you have a conference championship game, and maybe that's the end of it. Maybe it's just going to be too risky to try to get four teams into a college football playoff to determine a national championship. I think that's a real possibility this season. I certainly don't think we're going to see bowl games this year unless something drastically changes, unless we have a vaccine or there's a serious drop-off in the numbers, because people are talking obviously about a second wave and flu season coming up in November and December, obviously. So you're going to have a lot of issues. The one question I would have would be, if you want to move forward with the college football playoff and those bowl games, is there a way? You look at the bubble in Orlando, the Disney bubble, that would set up for a potential opportunity for the college football playoff to say, hey, we're going to play. They have two stadiums down there. They have Camping World Stadium in downtown Orlando, and then you have the UCF Spectrum Stadium, which is just outside of Orlando there in Oviedo. So you do have that opportunity. You could quarantine 4 teams, and you could potentially play those games on back-to-back weekends. So there is a chance that you could see 4 teams maybe head down to a Disney bubble or some other city, quarantine themselves, and maybe you get a college football playoff. But I think right now that you just have to get through the regular season. And if you don't have a postseason, hey, at least we got to see some football this year. But obviously, with everything still in flux, we just want to get to week 1 and see if we can do this thing moving forward.
So hang on a minute. So you think there's a possibility they play the season and don't have a bowl championship series?
I do think that's a possibility, just because of the logistics of everything, and having to. In my opinion, you're going to have some sort of bubble. I'm not saying it's impossible to do. I think there's a couple different cities in which you could do it, but I think that there's a chance that you see just the regular season, and especially if there's a spike in cases and there's no vaccine, and you see people getting sick from the flu, pneumonia, COVID-19 in December and January, there's a very real chance that you see what we saw with the NCAA tournament, where they just say, hey, we had the regular season, we're cutting it off right here. If there's a safe way they can do it, if they can implement some sort of bubble situation, get 4 teams to quarantine and play those games on back-to-back weekends and get a national championship, they'll obviously do it. There's a lot of money at stake in that, and there's a lot of TV dollars. But I honestly see a very real situation where we have a 10-game regular season, and if they have to cancel the college football playoff and other bowl games, so be it.
If you're Trevor Lawrence, let me ask you both of you guys a question. If you're Trevor Lawrence right now, you know you're going to be the top 1, 2, 3 picks or whatever, and there's not going to be a national champion declared at the end of the year. Would you play this season?
I personally would not. I would, if I'm Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. I've already proven myself. I know I'm going to be a top 5 draft pick. To me, there's the risks outweigh the rewards, in my opinion. Now, obviously, these kids love to compete. This is why you sign up. You want to prove your dominance. You want to beat everybody on your schedule. You want to play the games. But when you're talking about millions of dollars, and really the only negative is you're going to see a decrease in your draft stock potentially, I would not blame any of these players who want to sit out, especially these top 5 picks like Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Penei Sewell over at Oregon. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a handful of those guys just say, I'm going to pass on this season and take my shot with the NFL.
If you flip it around to basketball, would you, if they're not going to have an NCAA tournament at the end of the year, what are you playing for? I believe me, no one wants them to play more than me, I promise. But what are you working for? What are you playing for if they're not going to play a March Madness?
Well, I mean, I think that they're planning on that, obviously.
That would be very. I'm saying that wrong.
But I get it.
Difficult.
Yeah, if you're trying to relate it to relate it to the football end, for me, it's different. Football is kind of different because each game is so big because they mean so much. You've only got 10 of them. You don't have 30 like in basketball. You've got a lot more games. You can't stub your toe in football. So, like in the NFL, especially, each game is an event. So it's a little different in that regard. So I can see the desire to want to play, but I agree with you. I mean, those big name guys, and I'm sure that the teams that are potentially looking at drafting Trevor Lawrence is probably hoping that he does not.
Hoping
play.
he doesn't play. Sure,
they don't want to get it. Don't God get hurt. They'd love to have him when they get him. So I'm sure we're going to see that. You've already posted some stuff, Dustin, about some guys opting out on the college level.
Yeah, Illinois running back Rayvon Bonner has decided, he has asthma. He decided that the risk is going to outweigh the reward of playing this season, and he doesn't want his last season, and who could blame him? He doesn't want his last season in Illinois to be a 10-game season with the potential of not playing in a bowl game. And you saw another Illinois offensive lineman, Jake Cerny, who decided to opt out. And then I'm going to forget this kid's name, but one of the top cornerbacks coming back in 2020 out of Virginia Tech, he's decided to sit out and focus on the NFL draft. And I think that you're going to see that decision, especially among players who are getting first-round draft grades. I think you're going to see that decision more common here in the next couple of weeks. It's just a matter of how many decide to do it, and we could see a lot of players decide that they don't want to play this season, and how that affects the college football season, whether or not they're going to move forward with that, or if you're just going to see more and more reserves and guys on the 2 and 3 on the depth chart start stepping up. I mean, this is going to be I hate to say unprecedented because you hear it every turn, but it is going to be an unprecedented season. And like I said, you're going to probably see, I would guess, between 10 and 15 big names that aren't going to play this season, and they're just going to start training for the NFL draft.
Would not be surprised. Dustin, you got anything coming up that people need to know about?
We will have our Crystal Ball series predicting records for every Big Ten team here in the coming weeks, and a lot of good stuff on the better or worse with each team looking at their offense and defense for the 2020 season. So we'll have team predictions up once we know when the schedule's released from the Big Ten.
Looking forward to that, seeing what you got for Indiana. But appreciate you joining us, Dustin Schutte from the Saturday Tradition. Appreciate you as always.
Hey, thanks, Jim and Todd. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
You too, brother. Stay dry. Let's see. And Notre Dame, they get to play Clemson. That's going to be fun. Clemson is not liking. I guarantee it. Clemson, Dabo is not happy that the ACC let Notre Dame in because he's had run through that conference free will.
But they were already scheduled to play Notre Dame. They already had them on the schedule.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
I knew that part of the rotation would eventually catch them.
The rotation was going to get there. This was the year. It was catching up.
Okay.
I looked at – yeah, so amazingly, here's what's crazy. You are exactly right. You know they'd have thrown a fit, except for it works out perfect for them because they can sit back now and go, oh, yeah, we'll play them. That'd be great. Bring them on in. Let them beat up on everybody else.
Before I forget, sending off a dear friend today, Rex Lee Sheets from New Albany, one of the greatest men I ever knew, if not the greatest man that we ever knew. 87 years old, and he was a legend. If you're from that area, you know. But Rex Lee, brother, I appreciate you, everything you ever did. Been a great day, man. It's always fun having stuff to talk about. We didn't get to talk. I can't believe
we didn't talk more about Quinn Buckner with Kristen Harry. I mean, the fact that he puts up with Buckner, and
now next time you heard him, he's going to come back on. So the next time we're going to talk about nothing but Quinn Buckner's idiosyncrasies. All the things stories. That he does. Yes, Quinn Buckner's. Your Quinn Buckner stories. Maybe I can do some research. I'll get some stories from other. No, just kidding. But Quinn Buckner, played on one of the, if not the greatest team of all time.
No doubt.
For the 76 Hoosiers, but he's been, and he had a nice NBA career. He ended up with the Celtics. I mean, he's had a great career.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I didn't get to know Quinn that well when I was in school, and I've been with him in several events since then. The crazy, interesting part is, I mean, this guy knows basketball. I mean, he is just knowledgeable. I know why that team was so good, and it was because they had a ton of talent, blah, 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 and all that. Quinn was not overly talented, but he was the smartest player on the floor every time out. And Coach Knight makes no bones about saying that team doesn't win without Quinn Buckner.
And he talks about Quinn Buckner coaches don't have favorites, but if they did, he'd be in the top 2 probably.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's up there. The other one's last name was Knight.
Well, there was a
yeah, he's in the same category with with that guy's son. So he's in pretty high standings.
Well, one got there on talent, and one got there on love, and that's okay, no matter how you get there. But people that are younger than we are, I don't know how much they're really familiar with that team. And when you see a team that's from ages gone by, you think, yeah, that was back then. Those were some bad dudes, man. Those guys were big and rough and tumble. I mean,
and I can tell you,
was a giant.
I don't remember any of those games live. Like the only thing I know about those teams is watching the films, and we watched them all. Like I've seen all of their games back then,
and it's a shame. Yeah, they don't like now. We got all these games from 2013, yada yada. Man, can you imagine watching Indiana and UCLA and Louisville and Kentucky and from those 70s? All those schools were so good in those early 70s.
Well, you know what? One thing Coach Knight would do is if we had games where we weren't screening well or weren't moving the ball well, we'd go in and watch a film, and it'd be the 1975 team or 76 team or 81 team, and it would be some of those old game films. So we've seen a bunch of them. Trust me.
Well, it's a great program. We appreciate Chris Denari for taking time to join us today, as well as Dustin Schutte. Look forward to doing this again with you tomorrow. So I hope everybody goes out, has a great day, stay dry. Todd, have a good one. Jimmy Johns. Until tomorrow, do something, say something nice for somebody, wear your mask. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.